discovering who you are meant to be might look a little bit ugly. Discovering your purpose might be a little bit of a tug of war. It might feel like this does not feel good. It might not feel like a good feeling. It might feel like you're doing everything you're supposed to do in life but your purpose. However, everything is tied in. Everything is a full circle moment. When you look back at these certain events that you went through on your life, you're gonna be like, okay, wow, this is 2020. 2020 is really hindsight. Listen, we will all face adversity in life, especially being followers of Christ. When I was 18 years old, I got kicked out of my parents' house because I flunked my first semester of college. Not faulting my dad at all because he paid out of pocket. Listen, I can say when I was wrong, okay, baby? I turned up and did everything but go to class, okay? But anywho, I truly never wanted to go to college in the first place because I never imagined working for anybody. You know, it's like when you are graduating high school or about to graduate, you have your guidance counselors come in and they're asking, hey, what do you want to do? What college you want to go to? I could never give anybody a clear answer because I never seen myself going to college. I always see myself going to cosmetology school, picking up a trade, and then turning that trade into my business. I always see myself as being on the big screens. I always see myself as being an entrepreneur and having people work for me instead of the other way around. However, when it was time for me to answer what I wanted to do after high school, I answered and I was honest. I said I wanted to go to cosmetology school. However, parents, grandparents, they're going to have their opinions based on their life and based on what they deem as valuable or not. Now, not to say that cosmetologists don't make a lot of money. However, my mom said, you know, maybe you want to choose something different because she was a master cosmetologist for a long time. Okay, when I say that lady can slay, she can slay, okay? But she said that I might want to choose a different path because she had developed severe arthritis within her fingers. So my dad said, okay, what about nursing? Because you're not gonna do that. Your mama said absolutely not. And I think you should be a nurse because you are an expensive child, and you're going to become an expensive adult. Become a nurse. You know, you don't like working the whole week. So nurses only work 3 times out the week. That's your best bet. I said, in my head, I'm thinking, I don't even like blood. I don't like being around sick people. If I could wear a mask from the time I popped out my mama's womb, I probably would have had on a mask. Okay. Y'all was wearing masks during COVID. Baby, I wanted to wear a mask before COVID. Okay. I don't like no germs. So I said to them, how about not? I actually didn't say that, okay? But I said, well, what about CNA school instead? They said, specifically my granddad, no, okay? He said, you do not want to be wiping butts all day. Listen, my granddaddy, he is strong, man. He's a strongly opinionated man. And he said, you don't want to do that. And I thought about it and I said, you know what? Granddaddy, you is right. It's like, I actually don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I'm starting to look at these senior names now. I say they're racking up a little money. A lot of money, not a little bit. But anyway, I go on to eventually go to college. I went to the University of West Georgia. Shout out to them. Don't go to them if you know that you... Listen, it's a little party school. I don't know if they changed, but when I had went, they told me not to go. A family friend said you shouldn't go, and I still went simply for that reason, because I said I need to turn up. I need to get out of my parents' house, baby. I need to be my own person and learn and do everything but learn. And actually, before I get into the college and further into the story, I'm gonna back up a little bit because I need y'all to hear this one thing my dad said. He said, you have 3 options, Maya. He said, either you go to college, you go to the military, or you take a semester off. You take a year off, not even a whole semester. You could take the whole school year off, not go to college for that year, work a job, pay a little bill. Now, my parents had it like that. I'm not going to lie. So the bills that I would be paying, maybe like a little water, a little car insurance, a little phone bill, like nothing major or whatever. He just wanted to teach me responsibility as he should, right? Now, subtle foreshadowing, I ended up doing all 3. Okay. But as we fast forward to going to college, like I said, I had a ball so much to the point where I flunked all of my classes. I came back home during winter, Christmas break, And I told my mom. She was very disappointed. The look on her face was something I don't want to see again. My daddy, he was just like, listen, go ahead, get up out of here. And I packed my bags and I left. And when I look back at the face that he made when I was walking out, he was standing behind me at the door, and he just had his mouth open, like, I can't believe she's about to leave. However, I'm not gonna lie, growing up, I was pretty strong-willed. So you told me to do something, and I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I ain't gonna lie, because you're not finna just test me, baby. I'm the wrong person to test, okay? I grew up a show me, baby. So if you tell me to go ahead and get up out of here, baby, guess what? I'm going ahead and get up out of here. Okay? I don't care if you was playing or not. I gotta get up out of here. Okay? And that's just, honestly, that's how it was. That's how 18-year-old Maya was. A lot of built up animosity, a lot of just terrible thoughts from childhood trauma. Honestly, just built up animosity. That's what that was. And when he said, go ahead and get up out of here, even though I know he said it out of anger, and now that I'm looking back at it, and now that I'm a parent, I'm like, okay, that's not how he wanted things to go. However, that's how things went. So fast forward, I went to my friend's house across the street in my neighborhood. I'm like, girl, can I stay with you? She said, girl, you can. But then I thought about it. Girl, your mama gonna have an extra mouth to feed, so that's not a good idea. Okay? What I end up doing was calling my auntie, which is my mom's sibling, her full blood sibling. And I called her and I said, can I stay with you and my uncle? She said, yeah, Maya, of course. So I'm like, okay, cool. Tell my friend I'm finna go stay with my aunt and my uncle and my 2 cousins, right? So we pull up to the east side of Atlanta, and my cousin, he approaches the car when we pull up. My aunt, she goes into the house, and when my cousin, through passing, because I was grabbing a bag and he was grabbing a bag out the car, but I was passing him. I was going in the house and he was coming out to grab a bag. And through passing, he mentioned to me, Maya, everything is not as it seems. And I remember that line clear as day. Everything is not as it seems. What is he talking about? My cousin's younger than me, about 3 years, about 3 years. But I'm like, he is so wild. Like, what is he talking about? I step in the house and I feel like, whoa, like it's an energy shift. Mind you, to know me is to know that I am actually very, very, very spiritually aware. Okay. I'm a lot of other things. Okay. But I'm very spiritually aware. And I stepped in that house and I said, the energy is now shifted. Like something is off. Right. I end up going into the house. My aunt and uncle, they let me chill for a few days. And after a few days, my auntie, she said to me, Maya, so what is your plans? You can either go to the military or you can go back to school. I said, to be honest, I don't know. When my aunt said, either you can go to school or military, I'm like, girl, I don't want to do neither one, but I guess I'm gonna have to choose. And she said, okay, I'm gonna let you think about it. Okay. Mind you, I didn't say I didn't want to do neither one. I said, I don't know. But the reason why I said I don't know is because I'm like, dang, I'm low-key feeling confused, because is anybody not hearing me? Like when I said I didn't want to go to school or the military, I wanted to go to cosmetology school. Like, is anybody not here? Like, whenever I say that, is it muted? Like, did y'all ears turn? Like, I just didn't know. But anyway, a few weeks went by. She said, Maya, so did you decide? I said, no. She said, well, I'm gonna make a decision for you. You're going to the military. All right, bet. Before I end up going to the military, me and my family, we're sitting at the table, we're joking. I end up finding out that my dad, who raised me this entire time, actually adopted me. He was not my biological father. However, he always treated me like I was his biological daughter, and vice versa. I didn't know nothing else but him, right? That right there, finding that out, felt like I didn't know who I was anymore. I felt even more confused. I had a lot of identity issues. Not only that, but like I mentioned earlier, childhood trauma, and everything just deepened. Everything just made me more angry. Everything that I felt and had been feeling in my life was amplified. Okay. The spirit of anger just came in ravishing. Now, fast forward, I end up going to the military. Now, listen, before I went into the military, I knew I didn't want to go. However, God orders our steps. Just keep that in mind. God orders your steps, okay? You might not be in it for the entire duration. You might just be in that thing only for a season. This was only my season. I needed to meet those people. I needed to meet those drill sergeants. I needed to have those type of conversations. I needed to meet that one girl in the military who told me that she was adopted as well, and she wouldn't have changed a thing. I needed to have those laughs. I needed to have those conversations. I needed to have those cries at night. I needed to work on my discipline. I needed to start to learn how to eat better. I needed to learn how to work out a little bit better. I needed to learn how to persevere. So a lot of times, like I said, God is just going to keep you in something just for a short season. Anyway, I prayed and I asked God, I said, God, I don't know if I need to be in here. If I'm not supposed to be here, get me up out of here. When I tell you, I wake up the next day and my back was on fire. I'm talking about on fire. Like, listen, I had scoliosis going in, but that day, it's like that day that I prayed that, my back was just contorted. Like, my back was just all types of bent up. I ended up going to the sick call like time after time after time. I seen the doctor, and the very last time I went, you could just tell he had this look of just concern on his face. He was deeply concerned, and he was like, this is quite bad. Like, the scoliosis is terrible. How'd you even make it? Like, how'd you get in here? So the military doctor, he ended up telling me, you have two options. Mind you, I'm given more options, right? You either stay in the military, and I can write a note saying that you can stay in. However, you cannot do what everybody else can do, or you get out. I said, I'm going to go ahead and leave. Let me go ahead and pack my bags. He said, are you sure? I said, I am. I end up leaving. My granddad comes to pick me up off of the bus, the military bus, and he takes me back home. And I stayed home for a little while, and I went back to college, but I did online school, right? Tell me why I end up taking 2 classes. I end up dropping one of the 2 classes. My dad was so livid. He said, you got to get up out of here. So this is the second time I'm being kicked out. All right, cool. Where am I going to stay this time? I'm house hopping at this point, but I end up staying with my grandparents. And at my grandparents' house, this is when I started to work. So now I'm working a full-time job, y'all. And I remember one day I was sitting in the kitchen with my grandma, and she looked at me and she said, Maya, you have to figure out who you are. Who is Maya? So I say all that to say, I wrote that question down. Who is Maya? And I put it in the front of my binder. You know that front part of your binder where it's clear and you can like put a piece of paper in front of it so you can know what kind of binder or what subject the binder is? Yeah, that part. So I stuck that in my binder, and for years I kept just looking at that. Who is Maya? I kept asking myself, like, who am I? Who am I? Fast forward 3 years later, I end up having my child, my firstborn daughter, my firstborn child ever. And I just felt like the world was crashing down. I had the worst postpartum depression you could imagine. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. On anybody. It was terrible. It was so bad to the point where I didn't want to live anymore, guys. That's how bad it was. But I said, I got to stay here because I got a daughter now. That's how I was thinking. That's literally how I was thinking. I got to stay here because I got a daughter and I don't want nobody else raising her, because if somebody else raises her, she might go through the same childhood trauma I went through. That was the only thing keeping me alive, y'all. No cap. Well, besides God wasn't going to let me fall. He ain't going to put too much on you that you cannot bear, right? So anyway, I was in bed crying, bawling my eyes out because I didn't want to live no more. And I said, God, I'm having no faith in you. Like, I'm losing all faith in you. I don't even know if you're real. I said, God, if you are real, give me faith the size of a mustard seed. When I tell you, after that, I end up doing a fast. After that fast, the spirit of depression broke off me, aka the spirit of heaviness. After that, I end up getting a car and a house. However, I did not know how to steward that car and house well. I also end up getting a job, a big girl job, paying a good amount of money. Okay, baby? And I did not know how to store that money well either. However, still living in the house. God is still sustaining me and my children, right? Because now I have 2 at this point. God also had restored my faith after that fast and after that prayer as well. That's a strong prayer. It's not even just after a fast, y'all. It's after a prayer, a simple prayer. Sometimes can do it. Listen, if you are having no faith in God, ask God to give you faith the size of a mustard seed, and won't he do it? Just watch, period. But anyway, years later, I asked myself, who is Maya? I know Maya is a woman of God, a woman of integrity. Maya is God-fearing because being a Christian is something so totally different from being God-fearing. Many people can say they Christians, but is you God-fearing? Maya is a mother of 2 beautiful children. Maya is a prophetess. Maya has many gifts of the Holy Spirit. Maya is bold in her speech. Maya is beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God. So now I want to ask you, who are you? Who do you want to become? You've heard my story of brokenness, rejection, and uncertainty, but also my story of healing, faith, and transformation. And just like me, you were created for more. You were created to live a life of purpose, joy, freedom, and also create your own heaven on earth. There's no way you should be walking this earth and not experiencing your own heaven on earth. So I encourage you today or sometime this week to write down who you want to become. Ask God how he sees you. Even if you know who you are, and even if you understand your purpose, you still ask God how he sees you. I did it a few days ago, child. Okay, I need to know, God, Daddy, listen, how do you see me? Okay, how do you want me to see me? Shoot. Lastly, write down the pros and cons of your life currently. Then pray and ask God to change your circumstances for the best in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, period. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this. Also, make sure that you give this video a thumbs up so that way it gets pushed out to others who need to hear it. Lastly, feel free to share your thoughts and opinions on this video in the comment section down below. I love y'all so much, and I'll see y'all next time.